Hey, it's Daddy Steve. Please like and subscribe. Okay, I'm going to get straight into it. It's another commander review. This is the only non-area of effect commander I'm going to review. And the only reason I'm going to review it, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not necessarily because I'm recommending him. It's because I do watch other people's videos. I do enjoy it. I take it in, and you know what I mean. This makes me think and all that good stuff. This one keeps on coming up, so I'm gonna talk about it myself from my own perspective. And I remember back in the day, and I said I'm not going to talk about him as in terms of pairings or anything like that. I'm just going to talk about him within his own right. I might branch out into pairings a little bit, but that's not the intention of this. But anyway, let's get started now. I've said that. So yeah, rage cost 1,000. First things first. Do I recommend that you invest gold heads in this? Not really. Just focus on the AOE. That's the first and last thing I want to say before it skips my mind. Anyway, but it is of interest though. But I just think there's other things to prioritize. I'm not saying never, but I'm saying there's other things to prioritize, like all the AoE commanders first. Then if you've got some spare, lots of spare, and you're not really thinking about, oh, when they release a new commander, I'd rather just have all the gold heads to maximize that and be ahead of the meta. Especially if it's a new AoE commander, preferably infantry. Oh man, can you imagine if they did an AoE cav? Oh, anyway, so, and you think, no, I want to put it into a really old commander, Alexander the Great. If that's what you're thinking is, then I'm going to talk it through for that reason. But also part of the reason is you might want to think about pairing this up. So I'm not going to talk about the pairs in this video, but you might want to think about pairing it up, but it's not going to be for me. All right, but there are obvious commanders that you can pair them up with, and traditional commanders that you can pair them up with. So anyway, the race cost is 1,000. This troops commander gains a damage absorbing shield for 4 seconds, and the damage factor is 1,200. So it doesn't deal damage. Firstly, as the primary damage bringer, the active skill. Bearing in mind that Guan Yu's main skill, and he's the comparator for all of these videos, is 2,000, and that's before we'll talk about bonuses and anybody else who may have a larger bonus. So the net damage, once he's taken away that shield, bearing in mind Juan's skill is for 3 seconds and the shield lasts for 4, and there's damage from other sources as well, obviously, is a net that he still won't be big enough, and he's still going to take 800 damage, but I guess that means he just adds a tankiness for what it's worth, plus 1 second at the 1,200, assuming it's only one Guan Yu attacking you. It's just not enough for me. I'm going to be honest with you, it's not enough for me. Grants an additional shield to a nearby ally or friendly troop with the lowest percentage of units remaining. That could be some, just think it through. That could be obviously your resident whale, or it might just be some person who's always weakest and's got some Ethelflet as a primary commander. Not to hate on whatever, but you know what I mean, in comparison. So it's a bit non-discriminate wherever that shield's going to go, but it will go to the weakest, and that person's damn near dead anyway. So useful. I mean, it's one of those things you'll take, but it's just not really an impressive additional skill. Anyway, including this commander though, for 2 seconds with an additional damage of 600. So assume you've got the less skill, bearing in mind not dealing any damage. There is a chance that you may be the perfect counter to Guan Yu. No, sorry. The total shield would be 1,800, not 2,000, would it? So yeah, there'd still be a net 200 damage that Guan Yu would do to you, whilst you're doing no damage to him. But 200, you still can stick around, but it's just not enough. But also, you may well be silent, so this active skill may never trigger if you think about Guan Yu. But a lot of the other commanders I mentioned in other videos today, a lot of them do to around about 2,000, maybe slightly more sometimes, but just as a comparator to have in your mind. But the one good thing is, up to 3 nearby enemy troops take 30% more damage for 4 seconds. That sounds great. Obviously, it is great. The one thing I want to say is we don't know what formula they use, they being Rise of Kingdoms, to calculate damage. There's rumours about they've got a formula to talk about maximum rage boosts. There may well be a formula for the maximum amount of damage you can take on any given turn. So If say, just for instance, Alex is giving 30% debuff, meaning that 3 enemies take 30% more damage and others are as well, there may be a point where it just doesn't become useful anymore. That's not an excuse not to use it though, so anyway, that is what it is. Just before we do move on, one thing that's evident is, it's not doing any kind of active damage to the other side, is it? You know what I mean? So in terms of what's going to get you excited, there's nothing really to get you excited. Say if you're the last commander standing, this 30% damage to up to 3 nearby enemies ain't going to make no difference. They're going to still be 3 against 1. You're going to get done. You know what I mean? I don't know if we really... It's not my mindset to go into any battle from a passive stance that somebody else can do the damage that I want to do. I want to be the one, you know, having the kills, surely. And I know I'm kind of oversimplifying to an extent, but you know, in terms of mentality and approach and strategy that you want to go forward into battle as being a leader in some kind of one, you know, prominent damage bringer, it's not Alex. Sorry. Anyway, single type damage. If this commander's troop is on the map, their troop is immune to all damage reducing debuffs. Sure, he's got a list in here somewhere. Includes debuffs that reduce all damage dealt, but not specific to types of damage. It's basically everything. Whenever their troop launches a basic attack, it has a 10% chance to deal direct damage. 1,700 to the target. I'm just thinking about another video I did when I said we don't do skill damage, but we do. It's just a 10% chance of it. Oopsie. Anyway, so it's a 10% chance, aka a 90% chance not to deal this 1,700 direct damage, otherwise known as skill damage, to the target, and reduce the target's healing received by 30% for 5 seconds. In terms of who does actually receive healing, very few. Very few. When I first started playing the game, obviously you got Richard and a few kind of infantry commanders. In terms of the videos I've done today, yeah, Guan does do some healing when he exits a battle. Most of them don't do healing anymore. It's kind of the meta has changed, and some cabs sometimes give you some token healing as well, but just not many. It's not the way the game has gone. Anyway, frontline commander passive skill. This commander's infantry units gain 30% march speed and 30% attack whilst on the map. We'll take it. It's not that interesting. If this commander's troop does not have a shield, obviously we're the one that generates the shield, it gains 40% attack, and if it does have a shield, 30% defense. Listen, it's better than a smack in the face, but we're just talking about normal attack damage, really, and it doesn't really have any kind of active damage in terms of significant damage in terms of skill damage. It does the 1,700, and that's only a 10% chance with the cooldown here. Best thing about it is the cooldown is only 3 seconds, but you've got to bear that in mind with the fact there's a 90% chance that it doesn't trigger at all. Not good enough. Sorry, not for me. Sorry. With expertise, yeah. Okay, I don't know if I read this before. Ooh, yeah, the 30% damage. Yes, I did. So that's it for Alex. Let's go into it. Let's do the technicals again. So, as I want to keep on reminding you, go into Commander. Depending on where you're at with the game, way beyond Alex. I'm way beyond Alex, I'll be honest with you. 98 million. Is it 98? 96 million power Commander has been in the game 5 years. I don't use Alex anymore, so I wouldn't do that. In terms of civilization, again, it's only a 10% chance he's going to do any skill damage, and when he does, he's 1,700. So yeah, when he does, you get the extra 5% boost, but he's not Archer for health, and yeah, you get additional march speed on top of the march speed that Alex brings. So yeah, fair enough. All of it's not going to be a reason to do anything. Actually, before I go to the talent tree, let's do what we've got to do. Due diligence, before I forget. Go to the museum. Alexander, and I can't believe this is probably my longest video on Alexander of all people. Wow. Infantry defense, so it's a little bit more kind of tankiness. Of course, I'm not going to give you a skill damage, but can you imagine? And they also give you this normal damage reduction, 3% to give you a little more tankiness and stuff like that. Can you imagine if they actually give you a skill damage boost? They would just be having lols, because that's still the skill damage, aka really the only damage other than those kind of attack boosts, which you don't really care about in terms of having like real impact. Is that second skill where we get a 10% chance of 1,700, which is even, not only does it only affect one person, there's only a 10% chance it's even going to trigger. Wow, it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. So one thing I will say, I wasn't going to talk about pair ups, but anybody who gives you a video saying you should use Alex to pair up with anybody, and I accept that he's immune to debuffs, this game has to move in a significantly down this direction, or down the direction of Luce, or debuffs in general, for us to even think about using Alex. If you see where I'm coming from, there's no way I'm ever using Alex right now. He's gone from the game. For it to be any kind of change from my point of view, and obviously then you're entitled to yours, it's going to have to be something more in the museum. He's just, no, don't invest. Don't do it. That's it. Anyway, please like, subscribe, Daddy Steve, and I'm out.